Hi everyone, welcome to this month's webinar on how to turn Excel spreadsheets into custom web applications without coding. My name is Ned, I am a technical evangelist here at Caspio, and I hope that you will enjoy today's presentation. We put together this webinar to show you that you don't have to be a developer if you want to bring your Excel data online and turn it into an application where users can log in simultaneously and access data in real time. As powerful as Excel is, some of the challenges facing it is that it's very difficult to bring data online. We cannot make data relational. There isn't a way to set up access control. And it's difficult to circulate the files to get the updates because you have to make a copy of the Excel files and send it to each person. And then you have to wait for the files to come back, and that one person consolidates all the data. These are some of the issues we'll be talking about today and how using Caspio we can overcome them. All right, well, let's go ahead and take a look at the agenda. First, I will show you both the Excel file and the finished app so that you know exactly what we plan on developing in today's session. Now, because I only have 20 minutes for the actual product demo, I won't be able to show you all the Caspio features. However, we do have a ton of videos available on our YouTube channel where you can watch the videos at your own pace and begin developing your own custom solutions. Next, we will begin building our application by importing some Excel data to Caspio, manipulating some of the data objects, and creating relationships. Then I will show you how quickly and easily we can build a report with a chart. After that, I will show you how to create a login screen and password protect the data. And finally, we will learn how to deploy or publish the report to the web. Lastly, as always, we'll open up the line for questions at the end. If you end up having any questions along the way, please use the questions window and either myself or somebody from our team will get back to you. Note that today's webinar is being recorded and we will email you the link to this presentation and also make the video available on our YouTube channel at a later time. Now, before I give you the application overview, I do want to quickly mention two things. I realize that we have a lot of people on the call who may not be intimately familiar with who Caspio is, so let me give you a quick overview on the company and the platform itself. Caspio was founded in year 2000. It was founded as a rapid application development platform. What does that mean? Well, that means that you can develop website applications much faster than using traditional development. How are we able to do this? We do this thanks to a very intuitive point and click user interface. All you do is point and click your way to building your applications, while Caspio does all the heavy lifting behind the scenes. And when you're done creating your app, you will simply deploy the app to your website so your employees or your customers can access the data either publicly or securely by enabling a login screen. And in just a couple of minutes, you will be able to see Caspio's platform in action and see why so many companies rely on Caspio to transform how their business operates. Now, Caspio is a global company. Today, we have over 1 million applications published in over 100 countries. We have offices around the world to make sure that we are always ready to offer support 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. So if there's ever a question late at night and you need help, you can rest assured that someone from our team will be there to assist you. And the second thing that I want to quickly mention, for which I'm very excited about, is our upcoming No Code User Conference. The conference will take place here in Santa Clara, and it will be from October 15th until the 17th. So if you do want to take part in the latest no code movement, then definitely sign up. We'll have training boot camps, keynote speeches from industry leaders, presentations from Caspio experts, detailed product roadmaps, and much, much more. For more information on the user conference, please visit our website, and on behalf of the Caspio team, we do hope to see you all there. Now, as you begin to think about how to begin developing your applications in Caspio, I recommend the easiest way to begin is to simply set up a free 14-day trial account. You're going to have a whole team dedicated here at Caspio in helping you actually during the evaluation process. So as you create your trial, there's always going to be a point of contact that's going to be guiding you throughout the evaluation process. We're going to help you set up your Excel files. We're going to help you with the import and figure out if Caspio is going to be the right solution. You can also watch our step-by-step videos that we have available on our YouTube channel if you like to watch it at your own pace. We also have a knowledge base with our online documentation. And if you ask me, the best way to learn how to use Caspio is to attend our online training sessions, which are fully complimentary. You can sign up for those online classes directly from our website. And we also offer on-site training sessions as well. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at my Excel file so that we can see what we're going to be presenting in today's webinar. I want to show you this example we'll be using today. Now, I realize that the way I'm using Excel is most likely not how you may be using it because there are so many different variations of how you can use Excel, but hopefully some of the workflows resonate with the things that you may have done in the past. What we're tracking is in this Excel file is sales data by reps. So if you look here to my left, you're going to see a list of all of the reps, and we're grabbing the total sales per rep, and at the very bottom, we're looking at the grand total. Above this report, I'm looking at a chart that shows me monthly sales. And over here to the right, we have a pivot table that shows total sales by product for all of the given months. Now, in today's webinar, we're not going to show you how to build a pivot table in Caspio, but that is something that you can do. However, I will show you in just a moment an example of a pivot table that was built using Caspio. Today, we're going to focus on recreating this report and also the chart that we see above. Now, I already have a live example created, so let me show you that. So here's that report built in Caspio. What you're seeing is the same exact chart. We're seeing the monthly distribution of sales. And underneath that, we're looking at all of our reps and how we're grouping all the data per rep. Now, we can expand and collapse these sections. We also have the ability to edit data via the reports. So I can click on this inline edit and make my modifications. We can also actually do a mass update. So if I want to go ahead and select these entries, I can click on edit. And let's say if I'm an admin user or a manager, I will have the ability to reassign those entries to a different rep. Let's cancel that. And we also have the ability to do a grid edit, which is very similar to Excel. We're going to be able to access each one of the cells one at a time and make our updates. So for example, I can access this cell. I can go to this one, and very quickly I can make my updates, and at the same time I can exit. This is the report that we're going to learn how to do inside today's webinar. Let me show you a couple of other examples created with Caspio. So here's a different layout of a dashboard. Okay, so we can go up and down this report, and we're able to see two charts side by side. Underneath that, we're looking at two pivot tables. This one here actually uses VLOOKUPs. If that's a question that might come up, just want to let you know that in Caspio you can do VLOOKUPs. If you have a question on that, just reach out to us during the 14-day trial and somebody can show you. Unfortunately, we don't have that set up in today's webinar. Another common issue that arises when it comes to Excel, it's really hard to make it mobile friendly. Okay, so if I'm online, I want to be able to see my data in an iPhone, maybe a tablet. I do want to let everybody know today that Caspio, these data pages and reports can be turned into responsive templates. So if you have a responsive website and you shrink the browser, you can see how all the components are going to cascade underneath each other. So it fits the mobile window. And here is my mobile navigation menu. But when you expand it, this is what it looks like on the web. Here's another example of a dashboard. Again, I have two charts side by side, and underneath that I have a nice pivot table that aggregates all the data for me. We have all of the employees on the left, and we have all of the months across the top. And in the middle, we're just doing a summation across all of our data from the table. And the last example that I want to show you is a very simple chart that's a funnel chart. So if you decide to build, let's say, a CRM, and you want to be able to track your pipeline by stage, you can actually create a funnel chart inside Caspio to display more visual representation of your data as the leads come in, they turn into sales. So let's go back to my Excel file. I do want to mention one more thing before we import the file. Now, some of you might have Excel files that might require data normalization. And what I mean by that is if you have one flat file or a large table that repeats and has a lot of duplicates, you might actually think about separating that table into multiple tables and linking the data using a common value. This is the process of data normalization, and that's exactly what I have done in my example. So let me show you. I have separated my reps from the sales data, and each one of my reps has a unique ID assigned to them. And all I'm doing is referencing this ID inside the sales table so that we can keep track who was the rep to have submitted that sale. All right, because Excel is not a true database, we need to normalize our data before it's ready to be uploaded inside an online database like Caspio, for example. Okay, so now let's go into the Caspio platform and let me show you how to bring this data in. Once you're logged inside your Caspio account, it's very easy to begin. All you need to do is click on this link to build your new application, and you have two ways on how you can begin. You can either import data, or you can begin building your application from scratch. Let's go ahead and import our data. Before I can import my data, I do have to give my application a name. Let's call this webinar demo. Now, you'll have your own naming convention. It really just depends on the application that you're building. So if you want to build a CRM, you can call it CRM. If you need to manage inventory, you can call it inventory management. Next step is to find that file. I called it sales. It's a workbook file. Click open. And as soon as I hit next, take a look and see what's happening in the background. Caspio is creating the container, and it's in the midst of uploading that data file. Let's go through the import wizard to finally import this Excel file. So we're going to hit next. On this screen, you'll see the list of all of your tables from your workbook file that you're importing. I'm going to exclude this one and also the dashboard view. The only two tables that I'm interested in are the raw data that's having my reps information and also my sales data. We're going to create a brand new database table. So we're going to use the action called create new. We're going to leave these table names and hit next. On the second screen, before you finally import this file, here you can toggle back and forth between your tables. You can see the original field names from your Excel file that you're importing. Directly underneath that, you can rename the field to something else if you'd like. And underneath that, you can include or exclude columns if you change your mind and don't wish to import them during the import wizard. And finally, we have something called data type. Each field will have its own data type. It really just depends on what kind of data you're storing inside that field. So for example, if you're collecting text data, you may actually opt out to have text 255. If you're storing numerical data, for example, revenue, forecast, or pipeline, you might choose to flag that as a number or a currency data type. Now, again, as I said, because Excel is not a true database, I do need to make a few modifications here before I import my file. On this table, I'm going to change my rep ID from number to auto number. Why? Because every time I add a new rep to this table, I would like to automatically assign that rep a new unique ID. That's how that person will be recognized inside that table. For my second table, I also want to change the sale ID from number to auto number, because when I add a new sale to this table, I would like to automatically assign a new unique ID to that sale. The second change that I want to make is I'm going to change the rep ID from number to something that's called integer. The reason why is because if we look at the reps table, each rep will have its own unique ID. And as you can see, it's a whole number. It's never going to have a decimal. And because it's a whole number, the correct way to stamp that in a related table is going to be as an integer, because integers are whole numbers. They're never going to be able to accept decimals. And finally, for my date field, I'm simply going to change this to a date and time. And once you're done making all of your configurations, we're going to click import. Should only take a few seconds. And as soon as we see the confirmation message, we can close that screen. And what Caspio is going to do, it's going to immediately take me inside the overview screen for this specific application. This screen is mostly informational for you to keep track of your progress. So you can add some notes, you can look at some important metrics, but if you want to see your data now, you need to go to the tables object. Tables are the foundation or the backbone of any application that you develop inside Caspio. That's where all of your data is going to reside. And this is also where you're going to create relationships between your tables. If you want to see the data, you can click on Open. And here's all that Excel data that we just imported in less than a minute. Now, if you want to do a comparison, you can actually go to your Excel file, and you can see that same exact data now resides inside an online database. The difference is with the Excel file, you know what kind of nightmare it can be to have to email these Excel files back and forth, and then you have somebody consolidating all that data together at a later time. With an online database, well, now you can build these interfaces for the web where people can log in at the same time, make updates in real time, and also the only email that you're getting as an admin is to notify you that somebody just made an update. Log in as the admin to view those changes. And you can also build sophisticated reports and dashboards to be able to see all these changes. If you would like to make modifications to your fields, you can go to Table Design. And here you can rename a field to something else. You can delete a field, or you can introduce a new field to your table. Let's go back out to the Tables menu. I do need to make one slight modification to my reps table. So let's go to Design mode for this table. And I want to show you how you can simply add a field to your table. And because I want my reps to be able to log in via the web, I would like to create a password field so they can log into the application. As you know, in Excel, it's really difficult to create access control, but with an online database, you can actually accomplish something like that. All I'm going to do is change my data type to password. So later on, the passwords are going to be encrypted, and nobody will actually be able to see what the password is. And one last modification for my email field, I'm going to turn this into a unique field. Why? Because you're never going to have two different reps with the same email. Okay, email is always going to be unique to each of the reps. Let's save our table. Let's go back out to the Tables menu. And now let me quickly show you how you can create a relationship between these two tables. To do that, we go to this screen called Relationships. All I'm going to do is include my reps table and also my sales table. You can move these around if you'd like. And now to create a relationship between these two tables, we have a common value here. It's rep ID. All you need to do is drag this line from rep ID to rep ID in the other table. Let go. And on this pop-up, you'll see that Caspio immediately identifies that relationship as a one-to-many. The only other modification that I want to make at this point is I want to actually display the value name from the parent table of reps, and I want to display that value on the data page on the report. In other words, instead of seeing the ID on the report, we can replace the ID with the actual name from the parent table. That's what I'm making an adjustment here. Okay, so let's hit create. And now you can see that relationship. One rep is linked to many sales. It is a one-to-many relationship. In Caspio, you can do one-to-one relationships, one-to-many, and also many-to-many. So it is a true database, and you can create very sophisticated relationships. In fact, I've seen this actually look like a giant spider web because there are so many tables in here, anywhere from 30, 40, 50 tables with some really robust table relationships. Okay, so now that we have a relationship defined, let me show you how easy it is to build a report. To do that, we're going to go to this object called Data Pages. Let's save our changes. And to build a data page or a report, all you need to do is click on this link, and this is going to launch Caspio's point-and-click data page wizard. This is the place where you're going to be building all of these interfaces for the web. And just by looking at these tabs to the left, you can see that we have the ability to build input forms. You can build different reports with different layouts. You can build different calendars. You have a lot of options for how many charts you can build. And you can also build HTML data pages. Let's build our very first report, and I'm going to select this layout here called combination chart and the report. And even if you look at the illustration below, this is basically what we're building. The ability to see the chart and some data underneath that chart. So let's hit next. The first thing it's going to ask me is to select my data source. I'm actually going to pull the sales table from here and select that because I'm trying to build my report based on that data inside the sales table. Let's give this a name. We're going to call this dashboard, very simple. You can choose a style. This is for the aesthetics, the look and feel of your report. So if your company has a specific palette and you want to match those colors, you can actually go to the styles object and fully configure your own look and feel. As for the localization, this deals with regional settings. And then this section below, access and security, we're going to bypass this now, but we'll come back to this in a couple of minutes. Let's hit next. Now the wizard is asking me, do I want to build a search form or just show the data using a predefined criteria? Let's do that and continue. I'm not going to be filtering my data based on any field, so let's move on. Let me just go ahead and close this. So now on this screen, it's asking me what fields do you wish to use in the results page. So let's go ahead and display the rep name, product name, city, location, state, and sale amount, and also the date of sale. We're going to include these fields in the results page. On the subsequent screen, we have the ability to make our data editable. We're going to keep these unchecked for now, but we will come back to this in a few minutes. And now let's configure the results page fields. All I'm going to do here is group my data based on the rep name. So I'm going to check this box to enable grouping. We're going to have a collapsible group, and let's have the group be collapsed by default. The only other change here is I want to actually do a basic calculation. So I'm going to insert what we call totals and aggregation. And in this element here, I'm going to include my sale amount field to the right. And I actually want to apply a very basic function called sum. However, if you want to build a more sophisticated equation or formula, you can select the second radio button, and then you can drop your formula down below if you're doing something a little bit more sophisticated. But let's move on. Here we have the ability to sort data. Let's show 999 sales entries in this report. I know that I have approximately 370 records in that table, but let's just to be safe, let's show 999 and move on. Now let's build our chart. So we're going to select the line chart, continue, and let's configure this really quickly. So the title can be total sales by month. For my settings, I want to pull the data using separate fields for each series. For my x-axis, I'd like to display the month. And in order to do that, I have to select my category field to be the date field. And I want to do a date rollup based on month. Okay, so it groups all those dates and it just shows me the sum for the months. For my y-axis, we're going to do total sales here. And let's go ahead and format this as currency. So we're going to select custom and select currency so we can see a nice dollar symbol on our chart. And finally, for value, what are we trying to compute? We are actually trying to get the total for this field called sale amount. And I'd like to actually use a marker. Let's use a diamond here and move on. I'm not going to sort my data for the chart. Let's just continue. And finally, here you can either enable a details page if you want to drill in on more information, or you can disable the details page. If you hit this, now you have two options. You can either preview the report to see what it looks like, or you can save your changes. Let's go ahead and preview it. Okay, so there's that same exact report we just looked at a moment ago. We created our chart. We can see the total sales per month, and underneath that, we're grouping our data based on the employee name, and we see additional information from that table that we imported from Excel. So hopefully you were able to see how quickly we were able to build that report in Caspio. I didn't have to code anything. All I did was point and click my way in the wizard, and until I finally click finish to save my changes. So if you're happy with the preview mode, you can close the tab, and now you can save your changes, and you have officially now created your very first report inside Caspio. Now, if you want to share this report with anybody internally in the organization, all you need to do is click on the deploy link, enable access, and here are all the different ways that you can share that data now. This is the most popular one, the embed model. What you're doing with this is you're copying this code and you're pasting that code into your website. Okay, so for those of you who have some basic knowledge of building a website, if you've used WordPress or Wix or Weebly, you know, they have a drag and drop interface, so it's very easy to build a website nowadays. All you need to do is just paste this code into your site, publish it, and you will see that report seamlessly embed into your web page. For those of you who don't have the time to build a website, if you just need to share this quickly, you can use a URL, copy this link, and even if I email this link to everybody in today's webinar and you click on that link, you will be able to see the same exact report via the web. Okay, so there's that report, and now when you click on it, you're all able to interact with that report. Okay, now another challenge that Excel has is creating these login screens for access control. Okay, so that's the next thing that I want to show you is how do we password protect this report and only give people that log in access to their own data. Okay, so that's another power of Caspio. Another true benefit of using Caspio is to create these applications and workflows where people can log in and just see their own data and make edits. So let me show you how to do that. To create the login screen, it's actually very easy. All you need to do is go to this object called Authentications. Click on this link here at the top. And under Data Source, you're going to find both of those tables. Here's the reps table, and here's the sales table. Okay, now my credentials reside inside the reps table. That's where my email and password fields are. So we're going to select that table. Let's use an express login. And very quickly, I'm going to use my username field to be the email field, and my password field will be password. Once you're done, click on create. And let's give this a name. We're going to call this webinar rep login. Once you have the login screen created, all you need to do now is apply that login screen across your data pages. So let's go back to this object. Click on edit to make additional changes to it. Okay, so let's move on. And if you remember this section, access and security, all you need to do is enable this checkbox and apply that login that we just created coming from this object. The next thing you'll want to do on the following screen is enable what's called record level security. If you enable this checkbox and you select the rep ID as the authentication field and also the rep ID from the current data source, which is the sales table, now when I log in as the rep, based on my ID, it's just going to show me the data from that sales table that belongs to my ID. Now I do want to make one more change. For my results page, I no longer need to display the rep name. Why? Because I know who I'm logging in as, and if I'm logged in as Max, I just want to be able to see my own data. So there's no reason to display other people's information. So let's move on. And now let's enable all of these editing capabilities. Just so I can show you how on the results page you can actually edit data. And once we're done, click on finish. Now when you refresh this report, you will see that it's going to be password protected. And the only people who have access to that report are the people from within the reps table. Now there is one thing that I forgot to do in my reps table. I just need to create a quick password for one of my employees. So let's go back to that table. Open the reps table. And I'm just going to change Max's password here by clicking on this pencil icon and just change that to test so that we can log in. Okay, there it is. So now let's go back to our dashboard, refresh. And if I try to log in as somebody who doesn't exist inside the table, for example, Tom, and I put in the password, it's not going to let me log in because Tom doesn't exist in that rep table. But if we do log in as Max, password test, now you can see that I'm able to log in, but I've also enabled some editing capability here as well for Max. So Max now has the ability to do an inline edit. So if he wants to make a change, he's able to do that. So for example, I'm looking at this sale amount. I can change that. Let's just make a drastic change here to 100,000. So I want you to see how the chart is also going to reflect that change as well. So as soon as I hit update, all right, you can see how this, now we had a huge spike here for the month of October. We can also do an inline insert. So if I have a new sale, I can just fill out these fields. I can also turn these into drop downs to do lookup tables. And I can click add. I can also select multiple entries at a time. Click on edit to make bulk updates. There are some other capabilities here that we can enable in the report. Unfortunately, I am coming down to the end of this webinar. I do want to show you one more thing really quickly when it comes to deployment. So let's go back here to data pages. When you hit deploy, as we talked about, you can either embed that report into your website. So if you have a nice logo and a navigation menu, it will look really nice on that template. You can also share this using a URL, but we also have three other methods here. We have iframe.net if you're using SharePoint, and we also have WordPress. So if you have used WordPress before to build your websites, hopefully you know how easy it is to build a website using WordPress. You don't have to be technical. You can just drop the WordPress code into your WordPress website, and then you will see that report embed seamlessly. All right, thank you so much for attending the webinar. I truly appreciate your time, and I do hope that you enjoyed it.